Welcome to Dance to Heal. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how dance and movement can bring healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that movement was vital to my recovery. I created Dance to Heal Wellness and also authored the best-selling book, Outside in Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new techniques to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now.
So now you're stuck with this very big bill that nobody told you about. So one of the things that we do is we always verify to make sure okay, is the clinic covered? Yes, great. Is the doctor covered? Oh, wonderful. Is the machine covered? Because you know what? Sometimes the machines are also out of network. People don't know this. So we have to make sure that we're crossing all of our T's before the patient shows up, because the last thing we want is for our patients to end up with a ridiculous bill. And most of them who come to us, they're like, I just paid $500 at this visit because my doctor referred me there, but my insurance didn't cover it. So we're trying to do all of that back end work to make it as easy and seamless as possible. So when our patients are saying, oh my God, that was so easy, it makes us really happy because we know that on the back end, it was not easy. We probably had 3 or 4 fights with insurance before they said yes, but we made it happen and we worked behind the scenes to make sure that it was easy.
Yeah, that story just gave me chills because it's literally what it was like for my mother when she first got her breast cancer after I got my cancer. And even in the interim, when I got my cancer, or even before that, when my husband got his cancer, we had health insurance. And it was so interesting the things that we weren't aware of that people didn't know to tell us. Those T's to dot and those T's to cross and the I's to dot, correct? Even sometimes blood work or labs they want you to do, it might be convenient and not covered when it's in the same building, and then you don't know, so you go and get your lab work done and you get slapped with a $700 bill and you're like, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, well, we didn't know that you didn't know. That's usually what's told to us, right?
Yep.
Yep. And yeah.
And I
Yeah.
had that happen too. So, in 2016, when I gave birth to my son, because I knew how to navigate the system, I didn't have a company there. I was still working corporate, but I called and made sure that my doctor was covered. I called and made sure that my hospital was covered. I called and make sure that the delivery room was covered. I felt I had crossed all my T's. And I was ready. But again, I had made this beautiful plan that I was going to have this nice natural birth and my baby was going to be super healthy and we were going to go home in a few days. And this was my plan. But again, here comes the pivot. What ended up happening was my child came earlier because I started having pain, and it wasn't labor pain. It didn't feel like labor pain. So when I went to the hospital, they told me, they're like, oh my God, your baby's heart stopped. We have to get him out. So I ended up having an emergency C-section. The baby came out. He was well until he wasn't. He was fine for the first 10, 15 minutes. And then they're like, his blood sugar is dropping too fast. We have to take him to the NICU. So they immediately took him. So I had done all of my due diligence. I verified that everything was in network. So here's the funny part. I go home and 3 months later, I get a $10,000 bill. And I was like, where is this coming from? Because everything was covered. So I called and it was like, well, your son needed to go to the NICU and the NICU is covered by your insurance, but the doctors that saw your son, they're not in network. So we can't cover that. And I was like, are you serious? I'm like, but the doctors were in the hospital. Nobody told me that. So anyway, I did appeal it. It took 2 years, but I never paid because I was like, there's no way that I'm going to pay that large sum of money when my son's life was in danger. And at that time, nobody's thinking about I don't know, is this going to be covered? Because I don't want you to save his life if it's not covered. Nobody's thinking that way. So, and you're not thinking about all the things. But other things that we've learned is there's also times where even if the doctor's like, oh yeah, I want you to go get an MRI for whatever reason. And the hospital's a network, the doctor's a network, the MRI machine is being rented out and it's not in network. So now you're paying for the MRI machine. So there's like all these little things that come up and we see at MedCompanion all the time that we're like, are you serious? So those are the types of things that we try to avoid. We try to make sure our patients don't experience. And we're always like, okay, I'm going to get this in writing and this and like you're recording this call. So I know that you said that this was covered. This was covered, right? Yes. Cool. If we get a bill, I'm gonna tell you on this date I talked to you and you said it was covered. So
Yeah.
we do that.
Well, also even because I have pretty severe osteoporosis in my lower back and recently now it's developed in the heads of the femoral neck and both hips, right? And just to even get the bone density, they were like,
Okay.
well, we need you to go back to the machine that you first got it done on. And it took my husband 3 months to track down if the machine was still being used. They couldn't find it. Right? Like the time that my husband could have been making money in his job instead of trying to trace down this machine from 5 years ago in a hospital, we don't know what floor it got. It just was out of commission.
Yeah.
Folks, it feels almost as if sometimes, oftentimes, it doesn't really matter how you present physically, if you are a person of color or not. Maybe if you're in the 1% financial bracket, it doesn't matter to you a $10,000 bill. For the rest of us, it feels like we don't even have a seat at that table, right? And I love that. And you're doing this company, Marley. We built our own table. Like, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just building my own house over here. You're welcome, but we're gonna bypass that house
Yeah.
in life. If you have a need, my wonderful audience, that you need met and our present system is not accommodating it, we want you to know, like Marley, I want you to know there are companies coming and you can instigate things where you come first. Not always, oh, I'm so grateful I have health care. There's got to be there's ways for us to ask for care that's in our best interest.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And that's something that we also work with our patients because as much as we love advocating, we want them to make informed decisions. So this is why it's important for us to educate our patients and make sure they understand in the most plain language what their healthcare means, what it is they need to do, and also like how they need to take their medications because a lot of times the reason why patients are getting sicker is often because they're not taking their medications properly. There's sometimes patients who are like, oh, my blood pressure medication is making me so sick and I don't understand why. And then we're like, okay, well, tell us about that. Tell us about your medication. You're taking this medication and it says you have to take it twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. So walk us through how you take your medication. It's like, well, I feel like I will forget to take it at night, so I'm just taking both pills in the morning. We're like, oh no, 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 that's causing all your symptoms in the morning. But these are the types of things that oftentimes patients don't think about, and they're like, oh, well, it says to take it twice a day. Yeah, I'll just take both of them at the same time, right? Or sometimes it'll be like creams that say like, oh, for external use only, and they're putting it like internally, and now they're having all these issues, and we're like, no, no, no. So when we can talk to patients and be like, okay, let's digest this. Walk us through the process. Tell us how you're taking your medications. Tell us how often you're taking it. What are the symptoms you're feeling? Okay, we're going to write this down and send it to your doctor and see like what is happening. And oftentimes if we catch things like, oh, you're taking both of your prescriptions or both of your pills at the same time, how long have you been doing that for? Okay, we're going to call your doctor and let him know and get back to you and see what your doctor wants you to do. Because maybe we have to do some damage control since you've been taking the medication incorrectly. Or maybe your doctor needs to change the medication so it's easier for you to remember to maybe only take one pill a day versus two pills. So there's things that we have to do to really meet the lifestyle of the patient. And again, there's so much technology and it's so great, but if there isn't a human element that's like, hey, let's talk about it, things get lost and things, when I first started MedCompanion, I was like, oh, I'm going to be solving all these big problems. But what I've learned is that really the problems that are solving are all the day-to-day little things that go unnoticed, that go missed, that ultimately lead to those big problems. So, So I'm like, wow, like this little thing like made such a difference, or this little thing saved that person's life. And I'm so grateful for that because I first thought I was like, oh, I'm going to solve this big problem. But no, I am just solving constant little problems that are helping the big problems not become big problems.
That really is the point of this whole conversation. Pivots really also depend on making those connections,
Yes.
between your pivots, right? I mean, having someone who's in your corner, this human element is oftentimes someone we'll trust more too,
Yeah.
right? Because we know that they're in our corner. I think that this conversation could go on for like another 30 minutes at least. And I have to, I
We'll need
have
a
to have,
part two.
we actually do need a part two because I think that this is just opening up the audience's awareness. And if you're here on the YouTube episode, feel free. And if you're on any of the audios, go to the YouTube episode and leave us questions. And Marley and I will come back and answer them. I promise, because this is really important. It's like my menopause journey, Marley, where no one tells you about all the things that we go through once you're perimenopausal or menopausal. And we need to open up the conversation about things like this before it becomes an emergency, right, Marley?
Yes, we're all about prevention. If we can prevent things before they happen, then that's great. A lot of times we get like healthy people are like, well, I don't need a med companion. I'm super healthy, so I don't need to go to the doctor. But I'm like, you can look super healthy and still get cancer. Like, I was a super healthy 18-year-old until I wasn't, and I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Like, to people, I didn't look sick. If I didn't tell people that I had a brain tumor, people didn't know that I had a brain tumor. So it's like, what does disease really look like? Just because you look good and just because you feel good doesn't mean that you're healthy. So I always tell people, I'm like, especially now, like screening for colorectal cancer through colonoscopies, they've now decreased the age. It's now starting as early as 40 years old because more and more young people are getting colorectal cancer. So it's like, why wait until you're 40? Why not start your prevention journey beforehand? Why not go make sure that your gut health is in order? Because let's be honest, it all starts in your gut health anyway. So we try to encourage people like, okay, so you're healthy. Why don't we keep you healthy? Why don't we make sure that you stay healthy and not go to the doctor as a reactive measure?
I love that. Marley and I, we share the same mentor, Jen Gottlieb, and she tells us in the mastermind that when she started to see a therapist, she set up a relationship so that when a real emergency actually happened, she was already set up for it. And this is the same type of setup, folks. If you already have a person in your corner already there for you who already understands what's been happening for you behind the scenes, they're that connection for your next pivot when something comes up. I mean, when I got breast cancer, Marley, I was 44. I had been vegan for 6 months. I've been working out for 7 months, and I was at my pre-baby weight. And I was a strong little effing Asian lady, right? And when I was done with cancer, I looked like a little old Asian man. So, folks, on the outside, if you're not truly in touch with what's happening, and most of us aren't, really we aren't, especially after the panini, right? Most of us is just trying to get by through the days, because we're like in the history books for what we all survived, right? And it's very hard to be present. The med companion or someone that you can bring with you to your appointments is what's going to keep you present.
Yeah. Yeah, and something that we do too, because I've done this before I had MedCompanion, I used to always bring my mom. I'm like, hey mom, can you go with me? Especially with my history, I'm always concerned, like, what if they tell me my brain tumor is back? What if they find something new? Like, there's always this like PTSD, I guess, from my experience. So I don't like going to the doctor by myself. I now do bring a med companion if nobody can come with me. But even when I bring my mom and she's there, she's also there as a mom. So she's not paying as much attention either. And I'll go back and I was like, oh, hey, mom, what did the doctor say about this? She's like, oh, I didn't understand what that meant. Was I supposed to write that? Like, was that important? I was like, Mom, I really needed that. So even when you have a loved one or family member, they may not always understand the medical terminology or know what to listen for to like, oh, I should ask about this, or oh, what is this going to mean for Jenny when she goes back to work? Is this going to allow her to work, right? She's not thinking those questions. But for us, another reminder that I want to just say, as you mentioned about like establishing those relationships before it becomes an emergency. I want to say this, and I want to say this with so much love. In today's world, there's less and less doctors. So your access to be able to see a doctor when you do have an emergency could be 2 to 3 months if you're lucky. It could be longer. You could be placed on a wait list for 6 months. So it's not as easy as, oh my God, I woke up super sick and now I need to go see a specialist and now I need to go find this. Good luck. It's not going to happen within 2 months. It's really hard. So when you have a relationship, when you already have a primary care that you're working with and you love, when you have your med companion who's like, oh, I know all about your history and I can advocate with you, those are the things that really help because as a med companion, when we're calling and we're like, hey, cardiologist, we have a patient that's never seen you before, but they've been seeing this other primary care doctor and they're very concerned about this. And I know you're probably super busy, but we just wanted to know, do you have any like last minute cancellations, any appointments, any like, is there anything you could do for us? We're able to really advocate and negotiate for you to get you in sooner. And oftentimes we can get our patients in as soon as a week, maybe two at the latest. But we can't do that if we don't have a relationship with you, if you've never seen a primary care doctor, if you've never like called your insurance to see what's covered, not covered, like those things are going to take time. And time is so essential when you are sick because time does not stop. You'll just continue to get worse while you're waiting. So it's important to reduce that wait time as minimally as possible.
Bingo, right there, folks. We all consistently lose track of time. And it does not mean that time's passing. It means you're running out of time to address the issue. You hearing me? I've had so many friends who get this questionable something and then they allow the system to delay them getting access.
Yes.
They'll be, oh, no, they told me I could wait a couple months. I'm like, no, you cannot wait. Please don't wait. Like, can I be your med companion? Can you please, do I need to call the doctor for you? Like, why are you waiting? If you're hearing this episode, please take a moment and ask your body. If you have trouble doing that, go to danceandheal.com, do my exercises so you can get into your body immediately. You hearing me? And then ask yourself, do I need to set up something like this? Now, if the answer is no, then set up it for your parents. Okay, go set it up for your parents because you can't be there for them 24/7. We just can't. Most of us have parents that are very independently, ferociously independent, right? And we want to give them that independence and that quality of life with a backup. With a backup. My father is 85, still insists on driving. It's questionable. He still insists on driving, right? And my mom's 80 something. She wouldn't want. Okay, so she's been like 60 for like 20 years. And so she doesn't drive anymore. So it's just my dad driving them. And then she fell last December and broke 5 ribs in a kneecap. She fell because she was wearing boots and it was snowing and they put down a rug at the entrance to getting her Coumadin blood work. And she fell at the entrance and ended up at the hospital. Okay. How did I know? I tracked my parents on 360, but I was still a 5-hour plane ride away here in Utah watching them at a hospital. Why are they at the hospital? Are they visiting an aunt? Right? And they happened to answer the phone. And then I got nothing after that. And I had to watch my dad on the Life 360 app drive not towards their house, but towards another level 1 trauma center and going, why is he not answering my phone call? Why is the mom answering my phone calls?
Yeah.
Right? If they had a med companion, the med companion would have already been in touch with me and already translating for them what's happening in the moment versus this is ridiculous. I'm trying to get a flight out the next morning. I couldn't get any flights up that night. It was already the afternoon when she fell.
Yeah.
So folks,
And I'll tell you, it
go
is
ahead.
so, it is, you get so much peace of mind with this. And I'll share my story. So last October, my husband and I celebrated our 10-year anniversary. And we were really excited. We had never done a honeymoon. We got married. We both were very like um, intense corporate jobs. He's a practicing physician. I was working in medical corporate systems. So it just never happened. We didn't prioritize a honeymoon. So at 10 years, we're like, we're going to make this a priority. We're going to go for a trip. And my mom so kindly offered to watch our kids. So that we can go for a week and spend time together celebrating our anniversary. Well, while we were traveling to Punta Cana, so I was out of the country, we're traveling to Punta Cana, I realized my mom doesn't call me. But what had happened was that they were in our backyard playing. She was playing with the kids in the backyard. A tree fell on her and knocked her unconscious. And it was my kids that were like waking her up, our dogs licking her, that she finally came to her senses. And that's where she called. And I was landing in Punta Cana when she's like, this happened. I, I think I was out for a little bit, and the kids were like, Grandma wasn't answering. And, they were like freaking out. And I was like, okay, what can I do? Even if I got on a plane right now, there's no way that I can make it back within like time. And I don't know how severely she's injured. I don't know what's happened. So I was like, Mom, do you think you can get up? Can you walk? Do you feel anything's broken? And she's like, no. I was like, okay. So you can walk, you can move. She's like, yeah, I'm just in a lot of pain, but I can do that. I was like, okay. I was like, I'm going to call your med companion. I'm going to let them know what happened. I'm going to have them check in on you. So just keep your phone on you. I'm going to have them find a trauma urgent care center so you can go get some x-rays. I'm going to handle a babysitter. I'll have a baby. I was like, if you need me to fly back, I will fly back on the next flight. I'm available. And within that hour, the med companion called me and they were like, when I first called them, because I was calling them from Punta Cana, they didn't know it was me. They didn't know it was the owner. They just thought it was some random person calling to say, like, hey, this happened to my mother. Can you make sure that she's okay? Can you book her urgent care trauma? Can you find the nearest location? Can you find somewhere that does x-rays? So I called from a phone in Punta Cana. They didn't know it was me. I just said like, "Hey, I'm calling. This happened. Here's the location. Can you make sure you find this like center that she can go? She's going to drive herself." And they were like, "Yeah, absolutely. I'm so sorry this happened." And they were so calming at a time of chaos. And even for me, I was like, okay, she's gonna be okay. Like she's gonna be okay. They're gonna keep me informed. And they were keeping me informed every step of the way. They were like, hi, we just wanted to let you know that your mom is at the urgent care center. She's waiting for the doctor. They're gonna do her x-rays in a little bit. We're checking in on her. We're here with her virtually. If she needs anything, we're gonna let you know. I was like, thank you so much. And that whole time, thankfully, she was completely bruised, but she didn't have any broken bones or anything by grace of God. Just was perfectly fine. She did take some time to recover from the contusions, but I didn't have to come home and cut my vacation short because every day there was a med companion calling my mom multiple times a day. How are you doing? Has anything changed? Are there any new symptoms? Can you breathe? Do you need anything? Do we need to call anything? Do you need an ambulance? Like, what can we do? And I just knew that she was taken care of. So that was my own personal experience during a time of emergency using my own service. And at that time, I was like, oh my God, I created this amazing product. Like, this is so cool. Like, I mean, I always knew it was good, but I had never like personally experienced it during a time of chaos, like a true traumatic event. And the Med Companion did phenomenal. They didn't even know it was me. So that was like the craziest part. And when I came back and I told them, I was like, oh my God, thank you so much for taking care of my mom. They were like, that was your mom? I'm like, yes, that was my mom. And they were just like so happy that they were able to do that for her. So yeah, it is a very powerful thing when you are really far away. You can't get there immediately. If you can at least get them some virtual support, keep everybody calm, keep everybody informed, that always seems to drive the situation in a much calmer and easier fashion.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that story. That's like everyone's worst nightmare. You go out of the
Yeah.
country and you leave your baby, whether it's human or fur, Okay. You leave some baby, and the person in charge of your baby goes into distress.
Yes.
You're like, what, especially if they're your parent, and you're like, what in the world? Do I come home? Do I not come home? And I think what's been really, I want you audience to hear something. We're not wishing any of this ill on you at all. No, no, no. You can say not me, and that's great. And we are wishing on the preparation and the readiness to pivot for you. Okay? The plan set aside so that you're held when you need it. And that's what we want for you. Even if you don't use my dance and heal exercises, and you don't go to Marly's MedCompanion.com website, right? We still want your subconscious to hear us and start laying down the groundwork so that you have someone in your corner when you need it. No one's supposed to do this alone. Any last one more piece of advice for them who's listening, because they really need to be listening to this conversation, Marly?
Yeah, I would say like the biggest pieces of advice is don't let your health become reactive. Be a proactive person in your health and take control of that wheel. Because if you can take that proactive approach and you're like, I am healthy now, but I want to stay healthy later, then you will have a much better lifestyle and health journey down the path simply because you were proactive about your health instead of reactive. Once you've become reactive, it's very difficult to get your health back on track.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Be proactive with your health. We're going to end on one more suggestion, my wonderful audience. When we say proactive about your health, we're going to also ask you, please listen to your body. And if you don't understand the language of your body, you've got to learn it. Okay? We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to Dance to Heal with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of recovery through movement and learn more ways that you can move your body. To work with me and continue your journey, visit OutsideInRecovery.com. Are you ready to move?